Good morning. The government is reportedly coming up with a scheme, a plan actually to tell Chinese manufacturers like Xiaomi and Oppo, who have not come forward as yet for the government's big electronics push. This is a scheme where companies like Apple and all have already evinced their interest, but the Chinese companies haven't. The Chinese companies haven't because right now, because India is waging a battle of sorts with China, right now imports of components are difficult for Chinese manufacturers. So these Chinese manufacturers are not coming under the scheme. But the problem is, as we'll just explain, if the government indeed does do that and it gives these concessions or these assurances to the Chinese manufacturers, the entire scheme will come apart. To understand this, let's understand what exactly the scheme was. Right now, India has a cost disadvantage over countries like Vietnam. So we give each one of these manufacturers a 5% cash back, as it were, into their bank accounts for each phone produced. Now, recall that any export incentive is anti-WTO. So if anybody complains to the WTO and the WTO rules against India, the entire scheme will have to be annulled. And so all the manufacturers like Apple who've come into India will all go back. So the government needed to come up with a scheme which is WTO compatible and yet gave the manufacturers an incentive to export. So the scheme that the government came up with is an ingenious one. It gave producers a 5% cash back for domestic production, but with a catch. The catch was that all production had to comprise of phones which cost above $200. Now most of these phones, as we know, cannot be sold in the local market because the local market demand is for lower cost phones. So essentially, while these producers would have got an incentive for domestic production, most of the production would actually have been exported. But if the government is going to tell the Chinese manufacturers that you can come in and we will allow your imports to be cleared quickly because these are essentially for exports, then it becomes quite clear that the entire scheme that the government has come up with is actually an export scheme. So it will just, it defeats the entire purpose. There is a possibility, we report in Financial Express, that the government may come up with a border adjustment tax to take care of certain taxes and cesses that are not subsumed right now under the GST. This, like the scheme we just discussed, is actually a bad idea if the government actually implements it. A higher tax on any imports, as is obvious, makes India's production more expensive to begin with. And this is at a time when India actually needs to make its manufacturing more competitive, needs to make the company scale up. So putting a 1 to 2% higher import duty is just going to make local production more expensive. It is not going to help the companies become more competitive, which is a completely different issue altogether. Atmanirbhar Bharat cannot be about import substitution. That is the policy which various Congress governments have conducted for the last 70 years. It is a complete disaster. Secondly, one thought that in any case import duties of the sort that we impose anyway are meant to take care of the disadvantages and the unsubsumed taxes that local players have. So it's not quite clear what the new border adjustment tax is all about, but if the government gave up the idea, it would be a great thing. Normally, a policy on privatization that essentially said that the government can only keep one PSU in every major sector and the other PSUs will all be divested, privatized, normally that would have got people very excited. But the problem is not too many people are enthused by the government's new policy, and if that is so, that is primarily for two reasons. One, if the government says that only one PSU can remain in every area, it just needs to merge the PSUs. I mean, they've just merged BSNL and MTNL, for example. And there's nothing to stop the government from doing that again, because they've done enough mergers like this in the past. So effectively that merger will ensure that a minimum number of PSUs will be privatized. Secondly, and more important, even without this scheme, there are enough PSUs that the government can privatize, that the government could have privatized if it wanted to. So what is really the issue is not the lack of a PSU privatization policy, it is lack of government intent. And until that is fixed, no matter how many new policies the government comes up with, it will not fix anything. Our lead column today is something that we have spoken about earlier, but we have more details now. So just to recap, in 2010, there were 3 private sector power plants by the Tatas, the Adanis and the SR group that cost about 55,000 crore rupees. These power plants ran into trouble because the Indonesian coal on which they were based suddenly became very expensive as the government there came out with a new law. Now normally when something like this happened, the state electricity boards which buy this power should have just agreed to increase the cost of the power that it bought from these companies, since one, it was clearly beyond their control, the increase in the cost. Secondly, and more important or equally important, the cost with the SEB would have paid these companies would still be quite cheap compared to other power projects. In fact, this is what the Central Electricity Regulatory Commission or the CERC recommended in 2013 when these plants went to them after failing to renegotiate with the SEBs. But such is the policy in India. The state electricity boards did not agree. Then when the SEBs went to the appellate tribunal ruled against the CERC, and then when this case reached the Supreme Court many years later, the Supreme Court ruled against the APTEL. So this case has been bounced around from one forum or the other to another over the last many years. And finally in 2018, Gujarat, which buys about 45% of the power from these plants, Gujarat agreed to raise the power tariff. Of course, that was power tariff for the future, not for the past. So whatever losses companies had made, like the Tatas for example, have lost 11,000 crore rupees. So whatever losses these companies made till then, they had to bear here. But if that isn't bad enough, last fortnight, even the Gujarat government decided that it was no longer going to pay these tariffs. Now, apart from the loss which these firms are making, what is interesting is that 25% of the 100 lakh crore infrastructure investment plan that the Prime Minister has come up with, 25% of that investment is supposed to take place in the power sector. Who is going to invest in the power sector when the government has such policies, when it refuses to take action to help troubled companies, and more important or equally important, when the unpaid dues of the state electricity boards are right now over 100,000 crores. ICRIER professor and Financial Express columnist Ashok Gulati takes one more stab at getting the government to come up with the right policies on various agricultural issues. In this case today, he is talking about seeds and other vital inputs such as fertilizers. Now in the case of seeds, not surprisingly, Dr. Gulati talks about the BT cotton revolution which was made possible. It made India the world's largest exporter of cotton. So the BT cotton revolution was made possible only because of one company called Monsanto, and as Dr. Gulati points out, the government has over many years come out with various policies which have almost hounded Monsanto. And in the case of fertilizers, Professor Gulati makes the point that if the government wants the production to increase, it should just give the subsidy element to farmers directly, bring in market prices, and once market prices come in, then the most efficient producers will be encouraged to scale up production instead of the inefficient ones. Thank you. Have a safe week ahead. Bye-bye.